So then there's this. We have a number of top stories this morning. This would be the second one we're getting to before we get to Minnesota. Yesterday marked the 1 month moment since the deadline for the Department of Justice to release all of its files relating to Jeffrey Epstein.
So a month ago,
all of them were supposed to be released.
Congress passed a law,
right,
that's almost unanimously that said that the DOJ and the Trump administration had to release all of the Epstein
files.
Every one of them.
Transparency Act.
Every one of them. To stop, if people in MAGA world are right, to stop the protection of rich, powerful sex offenders. Yeah, but the Trump administration will not do it. The DOJ will not do it.
They've released a fraction, a small fraction of the records have been made publicly available. DOJ attorneys say they have shared just over 12,000 documents totaling over 125,000 pages, but have acknowledged millions remain outstanding.
And so many of those that they released are so redacted, you can't even tell what or who is under there.
The delay has prompted many questions about when and if authorities will ever release the documents.
Well, it's a law. They have to.
And has led to escalating criticism from victims and the co-authors of the Epstein Files Transparency Act, Congressman Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna. The Justice Department says Massie and Khanna lack legal standing to challenge its handling of the files and says it has made substantial progress of the material. But manual review is required to protect the identities of more than 1,000 victims, slowing up the process.
It's been over a month.
It's all supposed to be released.
And the question is, who is the Trump administration protecting? Why are they breaking the law? Who is the DOJ protecting? They handed out binders filled with nothingness the first week of the Trump administration. Pam Bondi said she had the Epstein file list on her desk. Said that the first week. Had it on her desk. But it's just delay after delay after delay. And then Congress passes the Epstein Transparency Act. Only one dissenter in the House. And a month later, they still have released, what, maybe 1% of those files? Who is the Trump administration protecting? We saw pictures of Bill Clinton in a hot tub. Great. All right. Wasn't a shock, was it? Bill Clinton was in a hot tub. But what did you redact? What's behind all of those? Who's behind? It's not what. Who is behind all of those redactions? What names? Why? Why do you continue to break the law every day and not release the Epstein files? What are you trying to hide?
This all comes as the federal government continues to engage.
Are you not curious?
I mean, I am curious. Pam Bondi actually seemed very proud to have the information.
I have the list. It's on my desk.
She seemed that she was in her moment of destiny, where she was going to bring justice to the victims.
Yeah.
You could see it.
Inspiring.
You could hear it in her voice, and she said she had it right on her desk.
What are they hiding? David French, what are they hiding? I don't understand, and I'm serious. This is like... I'm like Tom Hanks in Big, and I'm looking at the toy, and I was like, I don't get it. I don't get it, except here, we're talking about what supporters of Donald Trump have long said is the biggest pedophile ring in American history. So the question is, why is the DOJ, why is the Trump administration, why is the White House continuing to drag their feet? Who are they protecting, David?
Campaign promise broken.
I mean, we don't know the answer to any of this. What we know is that Trump doesn't want to apparently comply with the law. And we know that when Trump doesn't want to comply with the law doesn't matter anymore. You think about the TikTok ban. That was a law passed by Congress, actually rooted in an idea from the first Trump administration that had, I thought, a good idea to ban TikTok. He just ignores it. He just does what he wants. Similar here, he did not want to see this law passed. He fought until he realized that it was going to pass anyway. And then now he's fighting compliance. This is what he does. And it leaves people to speculate. We don't know we don't know what we don't know, and what we don't know are in the files that haven't been released. But what we do know is apparently his administration doesn't want it done. And the law is no impediment to the administration's will in Trump's second term so far.
Not with this Supreme Court. Not with this Supreme Court, Jonathan.
No, not at all. The Supreme Court has been compliant. Congress has been passive to the point of non-existence. I mean, yes, they did vote to release these files. That is a law. And there has been some Democrats and a handful of Republicans, Thomas Massie among them, who have grumbled, like, wait a minute, you've missed deadlines here. But this is, in some ways, a microcosm of how just Donald Trump has asserted his will and expanded executive power in his second term, which hits the one-year mark today, because he is simply ignoring what he has been told, compelled to do. And this administration has twisted itself in knots, justifying not releasing these files. We have seen Trump berate right-wing influencers. We have seen him try to intimidate Republican lawmakers. We now see his Department of Justice drag their feet. And this is, we're no closer now to these being released. And it remains to be seen what tactics Congress, the courts, can utilize to push this forward. It remains to be seen if they'll have the guts to do it.